Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here. I'm Meenal. I lead product at Reka AI, and I'm here with Jose Maria, who's our growth product lead at Reka AI, and we are excited to share with you what we're doing and building here at Reka. Before we begin, one thing I would like to call out here. Today, all of us know that every platform is being inundated with AI-generated content. It's fast, it's cheap, it's generic, but at the same time, there is something that all the broadcasters should care about. They have something which is unique. They have local, community-rooted stories which are authentic, and that is something that people are still craving for. But most of that is still underutilized. It cannot be found, it cannot be discovered, and if you can't find it, you cannot put it to any good use. And in the next few minutes, we are going to show you how Reka turns your content archives into a real revenue engine. But first, why should you even care about Reka? Well, who are we? So Reka is a research and product company. It was founded by ex-Google, DeepMind, and Meta researchers and has been backed with about $170 million of funding from NVIDIA and Snowflake, and it is valued currently at as a unicorn. Our goal is to enable broadcasters and studios to turn media assets like their images, videos, audio into searchable, monetizable intelligence without really changing their existing workflows. Given the kind of expertise we have developed, we have some of the best-in-class models and the APIs on top to allow you to do that. I myself was not smart enough to become a research scientist, but still led multimodal in Meta AI and scaled that to more than 200 million users across different platforms. Why does having your own models matter? I think being full stack actually gives us 4 distinct advantages. 1, control over where your data goes and where it flows into the systems. 2nd, cost. We are not trying to build AGI. What that means is we can keep the models much smaller and make sure that there is no markup on top, there is no changing model fees, and that these models are tuned for your task and have the best capability and performance achieved just with smaller models as well. And lastly, customization. There is no out-of-the-box model that is fit for the use cases that these media broadcasters and that you have. And for that, we make sure that and provide the expertise to fine-tune these models and have them learn your content, your formats, and your terminology. Our products is delivered as APIs. These are APIs that plug into your existing systems. So we have 2 major APIs. We have the Vision API, which is really our video intelligence API. It is able to understand the visual content and the audio content that's associated with everything that you have. And it allows you to search across millions of videos and images and summarize them as well. You can ask questions about it. You can just find the last slam dunk from last match that happened, anything you want. You can ask a question in natural language and it will surface that moment for you. And then we have the speech API, which allows you to transcribe and translate the audio that's associated with your content. So if you have international content, it can do that in low latency and across multiple languages. Like I mentioned at the beginning, the question is, why should you even care? There is content that is exploding everywhere. Whether we like it or not, AI slop is for real. Content is coming out fast and it's cheap and it's generic. But this is changing audiences' expectations in terms of the speed at which content is being generated. And speed alone cannot win because it's all generic content. But given these media companies, you have some of the most powerful data that's sitting out there that just needs to be utilized. That local content is powerful, but it's hard to find. And now is the time to lean into that treasure and elevate it. At the same time, in terms of the content creation flows as well, most of the editing is still manual. It requires taking a video, cutting different parts of it, stitching them together, and that is just not optimal from the speed and personalization that is expected by the audiences today. Which brings me to the one thing that ties this all together, that discovery today is broken. And again, if you can't find it, you can't license it, you can't monetize it, and it's basically lying there underutilized. This is where Reka changes everything. We have products that are able to understand every piece of content that you have. We can understand it at the level where we can understand what is happening in each scene, in each frame, every emotion, every sentiment that's associated, and allow you to really utilize that content. How are Reka's models and products different? Like I mentioned earlier, we do have the cost and the customization element, but also our models, while most of the AI is still built for text, our models are image and video first. They were built keeping in mind that is the content that most of the media companies have, and 80% of the content that you have is still mostly video content, and that is what our models are actually built and designed for. Having a good understanding and a deep understanding of this content actually unlocks 3 distinct things for you. 1, your archive can now become a revenue engine. Every hour of footage that you now have, you can tag it, you can search over it, and hence you can find anything and everything, and essentially license, distribute, and monetize it. Your ad inventory becomes premium. You can now sell not just based on demographics, but you can sell based on when there is a moment of excitement. And I'll show you in a little bit how that works. And third, it also increases the speed at which your clips get generated. Now let me show you what each of these look like. Today, most of the advertising is still very basic, where it still happens based on the demographic that is out there. But now, if you can have a very deep understanding of the content that's out there, it can allow you to have a lot more of the premium placements that are needed. So for instance, let me just show you this example. With Reka's technology and products, you can actually find any and every instance of where a brand appears. For example, you can find that Coca-Cola appeared in a video 50 times. Whether it was across the banners that were there, whether it was in the audio content that was there, or in the t-shirts that the players were wearing. And that is the kind of measurement that was pretty manual so far. So for instance, I think this video is not working here, but at the same time, if you can see the tags that are being shown here, we are able to do live metadata tagging of all of the content that's there. Now imagine there is a moment of excitement that actually happens in this match, and now as Nike, I can have a premium placement that takes place exactly where there is this moment of excitement. So instead of now just targeting where I have a demographic of male 18 to 35, I can find exactly where the goal happened and put an ad directly there. That is the kind of premium placement that can allow you to charge much higher CPMs. When you are licensing this content to others, it is extremely important that you are able to find the right moments as well. With Reka's products, it allows you to search your entire library in plain English. You can just search, for example, find me all the feel-good community stories. And you can even find, it's showing in this example here, which is show me all the uncomfortable moments. And whether it's a sports match, whether it's a political video or a movie scene, it can find you even based on the expressions that are happening there. All of this content comes out along with timestamps and the description of what happened in the video, so you are able to reference back and see exactly what it found and why it found that. Today, most of the clipping that happens or most of the editing that happens is still fairly manual. But at the same time, imagine a newsroom. You have a breaking story that comes, and there is a long video that now needs to be repurposed for every single platform in different formats, in different aspect ratios. That can take days, and by that time, you've almost lost that moment. With Reka's products, you can essentially just upload your video and ask it to cut clips from the moments that are important for you. For example, it can cut all the highlights, the player moments, or the emotional peaks that happen, and also just automatically change them into the different aspect ratios, and add the captions and metadata and hashtags as well in different languages too. You can see here that it's clipping all of the most heated exchanges and standout moments from that, and attaching the captions automatically in different languages and different font sizes as well. Just to kind of give you a sense of the size and scale of at which we work. So Shutterstock, for example, is one of our customers, and we did tagging and search for them for about 500 million photos and 50 million videos as well. At the same time, our platform works with security industry as well. We actually worked with the Ohio Police Department to enable this kind of capability of advanced AI detection and search across all of the city intersections. And they have seen 65% faster case resolution and 40% officer time saved as well. And if it can work in high stakes situations like security, it can certainly work in media as well. We do have flexible deployment options as well. So it can, we do on-prem as well as edge deployment in addition to cloud deployment too. So keeping in light your privacy as well as your cost requirements. For example, if you are a movie studio with decades of content that's out there, Reka's technology can essentially just work on-prem where your content is currently stored as well. Couple of things that I'd also like to call out here in terms of what's happening at the intersection of AI and media. Today, one, we are seeing more and more shift that is happening from text to multimodal. This is obvious, and that is going to happen. And Reka was designed for this from day one, where our models are particularly good and tuned for the image and video use cases. And second, from wrapper companies to full stack platforms. So instead of just building wrappers on top, it is going to become more and more important to have ownership of the model as well and be full stack, because then you can make sure that Reka and the partner you're working with is not vulnerable to the changes in the cost and the privacy and the policies of the platform that's underneath. And I can now pass to Jose Maria.
Okay, well, thank you so much for staying so far. Now I want to talk. Let's do a bit step outside of Reka, but just what's actually happening in this industry and what is the most exciting applications for vision AI in general for media and entertainment. And I think that's going to be helpful for all of you. And just for context, again, we're both from work on the product side, and we have dozens of conversations every week with people in media, in news, in sports. So this is all of the insights we have gathered so far, end of last year and this year. And we think you're going to see a lot of very interesting stuff from here. So one of the biggest trends we're seeing in the industry so far is contextual and personalized content, and that relates to clipping and all of the different mediums. And I'm sure that you all have seen a lot of these clips that are enhanced with AI. I'm not talking about the AI-generated videos. I'm talking about all these tools that you can use to generate all of these clips automatically for Instagram, Twitter. So what most of the standard clipping usually looks like is a prompt that is similar to create an engaging short video highlighting the best moments. We have seen that across a lot of different tools, and probably you have seen them as well. But surprisingly, almost all of our users, even the prosumers, even people that are not technical, when you actually look at the prompts and what they are asking, it looks way more like the second one. So this is actually one real prompt that a user had and that they allowed us to put it for this presentation. And this is not a prompt of a product manager. This is a prompt of a basketball coach. Like literally a basketball, this one was actually a football coach. So it was compile clips only displaying player number 2, who is a quarterback, doing deep passes and outside runs. Only showcase Carroll players, start the clip with a touchdown, and don't include any tackles. This is not a product manager. This is not someone technical. It's a normal, like your average consumer, that now that all of these AI tools are everywhere, it's becoming more and more and more complex and sophisticated, right? So let me go a little bit deeper into what is standard AI clipping and how that contextual personalized AI clipping, and what are the differences in the most complex scenarios that we're seeing. So a lot of the clipping tools out there work really well if there is an audio. But here's the trick. Most of youth sports in America or they actually don't have any narration. So if you look at an NFL game, of course, there's a lot of narrations, there's a lot of audio that an AI can use as a transcript. But if it's an amateur sport or a Duke sport, there's no audio. So the standard AI clipping tool is going to degrade significantly. It's not going to do a really good job. But a contextual personalized AI clipping, because it's actually using a vision model on the back end, it's going to do a great job because it doesn't need any audio to work at. It knows what's a touchdown. It knows what's a pick and roll, and it doesn't need an audio to work with that. The second thing is the output type, which I mentioned a little bit before. It's very different to get the top 10 moments of a game versus allowing the user to have full freedom on what to clip. And again, we're seeing even with consumers or prosumers, they want to have full freedom on the editing component. And because everything that Minal showed you, all of our applications are via API, you can actually white label all of this. So if you are a provider of technology in these spaces, either in news or sports, you can actually use our models to white label it, and we're actually not even in the picture. You're just using our technology. The third one is sentiment. And this is where we have seen a lot of our competitors fail. Facial expressions and body language say a lot, and that's particularly relevant for news and political news. So one of the biggest use cases we see is that you all know politicians. They say one thing, but they mean another completely different thing. And you can only know that from the body language and from the facial expressions. So a lot of our users actually use the clipping to clip all of the moments in which politicians are showing a very obvious discomfort. And if you're only looking at the audio, they're actually saying very plausible and logical responses. But if you look at the body language, that's really hard to fake. And our models do extremely well with sentiment. The standard AI clipping tool doesn't have a vision model that can do that, but a contextual personalized AI clipping can do that. Person tracking is a big one, particularly in sports. And when I mean person tracking is also jersey tracking. Most of the standard AI clipping tools cannot follow a specific player across a broadcast. They only clip whatever the camera shows. But the contextual personalized AI clipping tracks a person, tracks a player, tracks also jersey. So that's really well, particularly for youth sports, because a lot of parents usually want clips of their kids and only of their kids. And you really need a personalized clipping for that. And finally, the last one is just for sports, is gameplay tracking. The reality is that a lot of people, when they think about tech, they think about sports, but every sport is its own different universe. Like soccer has nothing to do with American football, and baseball has nothing to do with basketball. And you really need an AI model that understands and is trained on all of these different sports uniquely and individually. And that's a very different and tedious task that we had to do at Reka. So, we talk a little bit about clipping, but another very interesting use case is metadata tagging. And as you know, in the past, metadata tagging was something that people would do manually. Now there's a lot of AI tools out there that can do metadata tagging, and you can even use open source models for that. But let's talk about more of the complex use cases that we have seen that most models don't fully nail yet. The first one is facial expression. So that's actually from a soccer clip. And you can see that the player is showing pain. Most likely he's faking it because we all know how soccer looks like, but he's showing pain. The second one is sport-specific gameplays. Are any of you a basketball fan? Okay, so that out there is a pick and roll. That's just unique of basketball. That's when the pivot is actually making a block to the defender so that the person with the ball can pass to him. That pick and roll gameplay, most of AI tools actually don't understand and cannot clip. You have to train a model for that. You have to fine tune the instructions for that. And we have done all the work for that, us manually, a lot of that. The third one is hand gestures. And especially on sports, a complication is that a lot of hand gestures just come from the rule play. The nice thing of most leagues in the United States is that a lot of the rule plays are public, so you can actually use that to train the models. We did all of that hard work for that. So we're really good at identifying hand gestures. And last one is understanding more complex stuff like evasive attempts. That's especially important in American football, as you can see on the screen. Now, how that looks for news, because I know some of you are doing news, especially political news. There's a lot of city council meetings, and I don't know if you know this, but all of the city council meetings in the US are public. So you can actually go to, I don't know if either you live in Ohio or New York or here in Nevada, you can actually go to your county's YouTube channel and everything is recorded. But the average city council meeting is 2 to 3 hours long. as you probably expected, most people don't watch that. And the average viewership of a city council meeting is 100 to 200 people. But that's where most of the important decisions in your county are made. And sometimes actually they made it as long as possible so that people won't watch it. So you can actually now use Vision AI to know first what are the key members that are being displayed there, even from the nameplates. You don't even need to like for them to say who are they. Also, what are the key topics? That's particularly relevant. The third one I find extremely interesting, hostile body language, especially if you're a news organization, you can actually set alerts for this. And one of the biggest use cases of contextual metadata tagging is setting alerts. So if you're a news organization, you can actually say, hey, I'm working with city councils in Cleveland, Ohio, for example. There's no way I'm going to ask someone on my team to look at all of the city council meetings in a month, but let's actually use a vision model to look at all of that in the background and only alert me whenever there's hostile body language, because that's something that for me is interesting and most likely for my constituents as well. And finally, any organization displayed in logos, now Vision AI has got to a point that it's really good at extracting all those logos and telling it for you. I want to show you how that comprehensive metadata tagging looks like, especially in sentiment and tone. I'm sure you all have watched Inglourious Basterds. And in this part, this scene is very interesting because there's so much sentiment there. And you can see that first, our contextual metadata show that it's relaxed, jovial. But then when you actually go into that moment, I love this acting, by the way. You can see how he changed his facial expression to be completely distressed and somber. And our AI actually caught that he looks somber, serious, concerned, and accusatory. There's no words here. It's just pure facial expression. And now AI can truly understand that. And we find that truly fascinating. Now, we're talking about a little bit about alerts. Let me expand a bit more on that. Appearances is one of the biggest use cases here, surprisingly. Why? Because there's sometimes moments in which politicians say they are in one place, but they actually appear in another place. So you can actually use a Vision AI model. Let's say that you set one camera in front of the White House or in front of like a city government like building, and then use as a Vision AI model to only flag whenever a specific politician that you are trying to track appears. You can actually do that now with the most advanced Vision AI models. In the case of sports, you can look for any rule and safety violations. I don't know if you know this, but even in most of the sports in America and all around the world, there are still people that are looking for any rule and safety violations, but it's really hard to track. So one of the sports that is at the vanguard of this is actually soccer. We all know that the World Cup is happening this year in the United States, in Mexico and Canada. And most of VAR tracking is actually still done manually. Now a lot of Vision AI can do that. Then, like I mentioned, confrontations. You can set any alerts for confrontations, especially for city council meetings. That's particularly relevant, again, because the average city council pushes more than 500 hours of recordings per month. There's no way you can watch that. And finally, logos. We do particularly well with logos, and why that's relevant because of advertising reporting. I don't know if you know this, but most of brands that advertise in sports, after that, the sports organization that is doing the broadcast needs to provide a report, and they usually hire an overseas team that is manually counting all of these logos and then providing the reports after 1 month, and they're usually not that accurate. This is everything for now. Now we have 5 minutes to open it up to questions, but thank you all for your time, and we really appreciate your presence here.
Thank you, everyone. Please go to reka.ai and contact us at contact@reka.ai. You can also try our products at our playground. So just go to app.reka.ai, go to Vision, and you can try searching for something, tagging metadata, or just generating clips as well. Any questions? No.
If you have any questions, you can just go on the mics again. And this doesn't have to be questions only on Reka. I'm sure a lot of you are just curious about AI and all of the applications. So again, we are both on the product side, so happy to also provide some more context that will be relevant.
Hello. Okay. Forgive me for asking a sort of direct question, but I understand that 12 Labs is often spoke of as a company who's also working with video-based or multimodal models specifically. Would you be willing to sort of compare and contrast Reka's approach with 12 Labs' approach?
I don't want to compare against a specific company. I think one can argue like there are many, many companies with many models out there, so I don't want to do that. But at the same time, a few things I can call out about our approach and our technology and what makes us unique. So we are a full stack company. This startup was actually founded by former DeepMind researchers. So we have our own foundational models as well, which is actually not very common today in terms of having foundational models that are truly native. And that also gives us a lot of control in terms of the cost and the privacy aspect as well, because we can do on-prem, we can do on cloud. And then we have built an orchestration layer and the APIs on top that allow you to process large amounts of data too. I think our models and making sure that it works for these media use cases also has given us it has taken some work, but we've also customized it to the extent that even things like specific brands or specific sentiments, like we showed in our examples, I don't think it's very common to see that in other models, especially unless you have your own model that's tuned for understanding the visual aspect of that. It's not very easy to do that. Our stack is also a combination of computer vision and LLM, but there is a foundational model that is built in-house at Reka, which is pretty differentiating. Yeah.
And let me add one quick thing. And first of all, Devon, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. I love that one. So what I can share on my side is how we compare with other providers, which include the one you mentioned in terms of the benchmarks we have done. Particularly metadata for sentiment, we do much better than the other ones. The way that we do it on product side is, of course, we look at what are the other providers and how is the output, just because we all want to push the state of the art. And what we have seen is, especially, there's a lot of companies that, like Adobe, for example, that offer end products to end users, that they want to use companies like Reka or companies like 12 Labs as a via API so that they can show white label products to their end users. And format is particularly relevant for that. And what we have seen is our models do particularly well understanding instructions of what type of metadata format you're looking for. So, for example, a lot of users want it in JSON format, and they want particularly focus around sentiment. So that clip that I showed on Inglourious Basterds, we actually compared it with other providers, and we did much better in terms of sentiment, and also finding the specific timestamps. That's one thing. And the second one that we have seen really good benchmarks with others is specific gameplays for sports. Also, like finding and that's again like there's a lot of providers that have pros and cons, but that together with the on-prem capability of that that we provide is one of the biggest differentiators. Particularly for local news, most of news have most of the stuff on-prem, and that's something where we have a big advantage over other providers. Thank you. Any other final questions? Yeah. Oh, great. Right. Well, thank you, everyone. Great to meet you all, and we're going to be here for like 10 minutes if you all want to chat really quick. Oh, another question, please. Go for it. Yeah.
So my question is just, is this mainly for VOD workflows, or can this be used in a live environment as well?
This can definitely be used in a live environment as well. We actually have a live clipping API. I don't know if you want to expand a bit more on that,
Yes. So we do have a live clipping API, and then that one is optimized for like giving faster results. It doesn't mean that it can clip like 5 seconds, like within the matter of 5 seconds, but we have live streamers. And for these live streamers, one thing that's very important is actually also the clipping speed, because you want to go out on social media before others. And you can basically send like 5-10 minute videos and it'll just clip parts of it like on an ongoing basis. So yes, it works for live.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, and just to add there, like one of the biggest use cases for that has been like the metadata tagging can be like almost automatically. So you can definitely see it automatically.
I think on that one, actually, that video that I was trying to show didn't play with the sports example, but in that one, you could have seen that there was, with every frame, we were adding the metadata to that.
Any final questions? If not, we can wrap it up. Let's see. Well, thank you all. Great to see you all, and hope we can chat a little bit after. But thank you.